Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to a $500 gaming PC build. Now, this is an AMD style build. I thought I already did one recently, but what I was getting confused with was that I did a $500 Intel build, and people have been requesting me to do a $500 AMD build. I thought I did one, but it's actually been like a month, so trying to do all these different things, sometimes you get jumbled up, and yeah, with that being said, let's get straight into this with the CPU. For the CPU, I went with the AMD FX 4100. It's a XAMZ 3.6 GHz, 3.8 GHz turbo, socket AM3 Plus, 95 watts, and it's a quad-core CPU. Now, I remember when this CPU originally came out, it was like the really cool thing to shit on this CPU, the 6-core version of the CPU, and the 8-core version of this CPU. I don't know, people just hated them, but now that the prices are actually lower, and the FX 4100 is $90 after a $10 off promo code on Newegg, that's a really good price for the 4-core Bulldozer CPU. And with the Phenom 2 X4 not being sold on Newegg anymore, and it's going to be harder and harder to find that CPU, the FX 4100 actually isn't a bad choice for a budget end build. Now, I really wanted to fit in a Hyper 212 into the budget, but I couldn't, so we're going to stick with the stock cooler, and that's what you guys are going to have to deal with. The stock cooler does work, but down the line, you guys might want to consider upgrading to a Hyper 212 Evo, not for overclocking necessarily, but just to keep, the CPU cooler, because AMD has a tendency to bundle in shitty stock coolers. And yeah, this is a 3.6 GHz CPU, it's quad-core, so it's going to be able to run the latest titles if paired with a decent GPU, which we went with in this build. For the motherboard, I went with the Asus M5A78L-M Navix. I've talked about this motherboard a lot, not a whole ton, a lot of features, but the main drawing factor about this motherboard is the price. At $55, this is going to get the job done in the build, and we were able to save some money, which we were able to put into the GPU of the build. So saving money on the motherboard is really what you want to do for a build like this, and you want to save as much money as you can on the other parts, and then get a decent high-end GPU or mid-range GPU for a $500 build. For the RAM, I went with G.Skill Ripjaws Series, 8GB, 2 4GB sticks running at 1600 speed. This is about $72, about $60 sometimes if there's a promo code on Newegg, which right now there isn't, but depending on when you look, there could be one, because Newegg is they're kind of random with these things. Sometimes they'll just have a promo code, $10 off, and then the next day they won't have it, so it's really random like that. Just shop around, you guys might be able to find some good deals. But 8GB of RAM is going to be more than enough for the build. You won't have the option to go to 16 with this motherboard. Well, you can, but then you'd have to get 8GB, two 8GB sticks, and then you'd have to outright replace your two 4GB sticks. So I just stick with the 8GB because 16GB really isn't a necessity at this point. For the power supply, I went with the Corsair Builder Series CX500 for about $30 after a promo code and a $20 off mail-in rebate. So really solid price for a 500-watt power supply that's 80 plus bronze certified, and that's going to be able to power this build no problem. The CPU isn't too power consuming, and the graphics card that I picked isn't that power consuming either, so 500 watts is going to be able to power the build no problem. For the graphics card, I went with the Sapphire Radeon HD 7850. Now, this GPU just keeps going lower and lower in price. About a week ago, it was $140, now it's $130. It's probably going to go even cheaper in the next week, so this is a really good GPU for about 1680 by 1050 gaming, and even at 1080p, this is really good. It can actually play games like Battlefield 3, Witcher 2 at medium settings at like 40-50 frames per second, so really good graphics card for only $130. And with Sapphire's slick cooling solution, overclocking is an option, and you guys can get even more performance out for your money. And for $130, this graphics card is really awesome and really the way to go for the build. For the hard drive, I went with the Western Digital WD Blue 1TB. This is $65. You guys know what I always say, but just for those of you that don't, if you already have a hard drive from a previous build that you can salvage, you can either skip this step entirely or put in a 60GB SSD, or put that money towards getting a better graphics card, which I'd actually recommend more so in this build. But if not, you guys can pick up a 1TB WD Blue for about $65, and that's going to be your main storage drive, so yeah, that's going to work pretty well. Finally, for the case, one with the Cooler Master Half 912. Now, this is $60, but there's also a 20% off promo code on Newegg right now, so that docks it down to about $48, so really good price for a mid-tower case that I can say is really, really good. A lot of good ventilation, a lot of good features. I actually run this case, and this case is really good for even higher-end builds, but in budget builds, it's great too, so yeah, really good case right there. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Remember to subscribe, like this video, comment, and tell me what you think of the build, and yeah, I will catch you guys later. Peace.